me say a blessed special good morning to one and all. Welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today being Thursday, the 18th day of January within the year 2024. Good morning. I'm your host, GT. Let me say hello to those of you listening via Classic Radio, 105.5, 105.9. Those of you viewing this morning also, whether you're viewing Channel 7, Channel 11, or Channel 20, welcome to The Point. Also, those of you viewing via social media platforms, whether it's a Facebook page, YouTube channel, good morning and welcome once again. On Thursday, we do, of course, entertain various departments within the Royal Grenada Police Force. And, of course, we have with us today, of course, from the community policing. Is it the CRD I should actually mention?
Community policing.
Community policing. All right. It's totally different point of view there. Let me say good morning and welcome to, that's ASP Glen. Charles, good morning to you, sir. And welcome to The Point this morning.
A pleasant good morning to you and good morning to all the listeners and viewers out there. It's a pleasure to be on this platform this morning.
Happy to have you, and I certainly hope we will have an interesting conversation this morning. We're talking community policing this morning. And community policing is nothing new to Grenada, if we could say that to a point. But maybe not been to the extent as we would like it to over the years. So let's kick it off with this first question this morning. What is community policing, especially for the viewers and listeners out there this morning who may be having the thought of, hey, what is community police? What is they really talking about when they say community policing?
Right. So community policing is generally defined as law enforcement philosophy that allows officers to continuously work with communities in order to create stronger bond with the citizens living and working in a particular area. This allows police officers to engage with local residents and prevent crime from happening instead of responding to incidents after they occur. Community policing is a beacon of hope and an organizational transformative approach to law enforcement. Traditionally, policing models have often left communities feeling disconnected, mistrustful, marginalized. However, the tide is shifting as more and more law enforcement agencies recognize the many benefits of community policing. Community policing is a philosophy that focuses on building strong relationships and collaborative partnerships between law enforcement departments and the people they serve. It involves in a shift away from traditional practices such as reactive policing towards a more proactive customer service oriented approach that emphasizes community engagement, problem solving, and prevention. Under this new approach, police officers work with their communities to identify and address the underlying causes of crime and disorder and develop strategic objectives in addressing them. Law enforcement has many different aspects and components, but the most basic and yes, most important one is community policing.
Right, interesting to know that. Certainly interesting to know that. You just gave us, of course, what is community policing. You to give us some details pertaining to that. Now, if we were to ask a question, what are the benefits and the effects of that affects community policing? What are one of the benefits of an effective, I should say, community policing?
Right. So there are many benefits that can be derived from community policing. And the RGPF has, over the past couple of years, been advocating and rolling out and ensuring that community policing is done throughout the tri-island state of Grenada. And in September of last year, I was appointed as a community policing coordinator for the RGPF. And since then, we have taken a more strategic approach in ensuring that the benefits of community policing is really derived based on the approaches that we take throughout the state. So one of the benefits of community policing is it brings community together. That togetherness within communities, it builds a strong bond, and residents will have a more favorable view of their local police department. Right? Community policing improves the level and the quality of services the community receives from the police. There is a better understanding of the needs of citizens and the expectations of the police. Community policing helps to deter crime. It also helps to prevent or reduce the fear of crime. Community policing gives community a say or input in keeping the neighborhood safe, as inhabitants of the neighborhood develop a stronger sense of responsibility for the things that occur within their communities. Community policing creates a platform for more accurate information from residents regarding criminal activities in the community, as trust is developed and they have confidence in the police. Community policing changes the reputation of communities.
All right. I wanted to ask a question also. How is community policing different from the traditional policing? Because we know it's in a way now there's a form of difference in terms of when you just call the police and they come to a particular community. But how is community policing different from the traditional way of how it's been done before?
Right. So the whole strategy of community policing is that to be a more proactive approach in dealing with issues within the community. Traditionally, the police force has been a reactive organization. People call in and the police respond. With the advent of the community policing initiative throughout the island, we tend to have officers out there in the community, meeting the community and discussing issues with the community, reducing the fear of crime. One of the basic functions is to identify what are the needs of the community, what are the problems that exist within the communities, and develop strategic approach to address them even before it escalates into an offense or into crime, right? It focuses on creating a safe social environment for all persons, right? It engages residents to determine what criminal activities they are most affected by, creating an accurate law enforcement priority list shaped by the people who live in the area. They live in the area, they know what is affecting them. With community policing, we get out into the community, we speak to them, find out what are the needs of the community, how best they can work along with law enforcement to solve those issues. It is the simplest form. Community policing creates a partnership between law enforcement and the residents. The more involved law enforcement is with the residents of the communities they are sworn to protect, the more the residents can help law enforcement achieve the goals of protecting and serving.
All right. How does the RGF plan to forge this relationship with communities, especially in Grenada, communities within the Triland?
Right. So the relationship forged through community policing policies between the citizens and the members of law enforcement becomes an invaluable asset. And therefore, community policing is a very valuable asset to members of law enforcement and the communities, and it benefits everybody, right? We're talking about reduced crime, reduced incidences of disorderly behavior and so on within the communities. We're talking about empowering persons, because there are a number of things that have to take place in order to have a successful, effective community policing outreach within the communities.
All right. If I'm also to ask a question, I mean, there have to be strategies that will be implemented, and transforming the pillars of our community policing. What are those strategies and pillars that will help in that way?
Right. There are many, as you said, strategic and transformational pillars of community policing. I'm going to list some, and of course, the list is not limited to just that. Right. One of the things, pillars of community policing is the Citizen Advisory Body, formerly referred to as the CAB, right? This is an advisory body to the police that works along with the police, that will have a management team in terms of the president, vice president, and so forth, and they will work along with the police as an advisory body, advising policies on issues, both on police conduct and the response, and also on issues that happens or occurs within the communities that they would observe. They will bring it to the attention of the police in a meeting setting and discuss and develop ways and means to address those issues.
If I could chime in on you for a bit, when you say the Citizen Advisory Body, so you stating that within various communities there's going to be that group that's going to be set up, where individuals will speak to the police about issues that are that are affecting that particular community?
Yes. As we speak, every police station on the island of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique is expected to have a citizen advisory body as part of their community policing strategy.
All right.
Yeah.
So so if I have to ask a question out of the blue, is that in most communities in Grenada, are that set up or is up and running in an effective way?
Yes. Not all of the communities. We still have some areas that we need to implement. There are areas that we need to develop. So that not all of the stations have an active citizen advisory body, but we are right now in the trust and the drive to ensure that all stations have, between the first quarter of this year, the citizen advisory body set up. There are a number of bodies that are already in place and are very active. Only yesterday, we had a meeting at South St. George with the citizen advisory body there. And those bodies meet basically sometimes once. They determine how often they need to meet. Most likely, most of the time, at least once a month, where they come together and discuss issues within the community and advise police on the way forward.
How is this body set up? What is it comprised of?
Right. It is comprised of persons within the policing district, persons of good standing, and it doesn't different bodies. It could be a businessman, a teacher, ordinary citizen, a farmer, a fisherman. These people are confronted or met and discussed and show them the need for such a group and ask them to be a part of the group. They come together, the group is formed, they're supposed to take ownership of the group and have regular meetings, of which the police is part of the meeting. It's not a group that the police directs. Yeah? Because they are the advisory.
It's a bit of a free will for the individual who say they
open and frank discussions.
Volunteer their time and so forth.
It's a voluntary group.
All right. So let's discuss some more of the strategic and transformational pillars of the community policing.
Right. So we have the crime management team. This is a team set up within the divisions of the RGPF that comprise the heads of every station and other persons within the community that the divisional commander sees fit to have on that team to discuss crime issues. And the way the police could better solve or develop pillars or strategic objectives to address those issues that is happening in terms of crime. Because the police can't do it all by themselves.
So true.
Right? And we need that partnership. And hence the reason for community policing, to build that partnership, to build that stakeholder collaboration. And the crime management team is a very important team in the aspect of community policing to discuss issues of crime, and the way to tackle it and prevent. And those that we can't prevent, how best we go about investigating and solving them.
All right. We due for a break. SP Glen and Charles. Let's take that break, sir. When we come back, we discuss some more. Folks, stay with us. It's To The Point here, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We come in right back. Stay with us.
There is a secret about...
You know, one day I woke up and, they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. Nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross. And only when you have come to a complete stop, that is when they will quickly and safely cross to the other side. And then you continue happily on your journey.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact, wait for pedestrian to cross. Then you happily continue on your journey.
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Records at the Traffic Department shows that a total of 1,447 accidents were reported for the year 2012, which includes 3 road fatalities. 2,946 accidents were reported for the year 2022, which includes 8 road fatalities. This is a significant increase of 104%. This is alarming.
I'll tell you, Master, I'm a radar. Girl, I'm a radar. I don't care now. Jump up in the area, pull up in a ranger. They wanna who's a stranger. I don't care now. I don't care about the neighbor.
When a family tragically loses a loved one, does it matter whether by means of a gun or a motor vehicle? To avoid accidents, drivers and pedestrians alike must exercise extreme caution when using the road.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. With me this morning, we have ASP Glen Charles with me this morning, and we're talking community policing. And it's an interesting, of course, conversation this morning that, you know, we from time to time we hear, of course, folks in the various communities speak about that in terms of how they would like to have the assistance of the police coming through. Things like, Farm Watch, Neighborhood Watch, and Business Watch, and so forth in various communities where maybe for some reason the crime factor in those areas happening, and community police could certainly minimize it to a point. Share some information on that for me, please.
Right. So as we said previously, the whole aspect of community policing is a proactive approach that law enforcement is taking, and not just in Grenada.
Yeah.
This is international. Studies have shown and proven that where you have effective community policing, crime goes down. Yeah?
All right.
And Farm Watch, yes. That's a very critical pillar when it comes to community policing, right? It's a grouping of farmers within any policing district. And may I just pause here to say that when we talk about community policing, we're not talking about, let's say, River Road or Belmont or Birch Cove. For community policing, wherever there is a gathering of persons,
yes,
it is deemed a community.
All right.
Once there's a gathering of persons, for community policing, that is deemed a community. And so any problem that exists where there is a gathering of persons, it falls under community policing and so on. So when we get to the Farm Watch is a grouping of farmers within a policing district that will come together and set up, again, like the Citizen Advisory Body, with a management structure, the president, the vice president, the secretary treasurer, the PRO, and the floor members. And the reason for that grouping is to address the issues of predial larceny and livestock theft, right? And even also the issue of stock trespass, where animals is going in on people's property and destroying their crops. So that group is set up to discuss on a monthly basis with the police and among themselves the way forward, how the best they can walk along with the police to reduce instances of predial larceny and matters affecting livestock. Along with the Farm Watch goes the Predial Larceny Task Force.
Yes.
Right? They are the ones, a group of persons within the organization.
So what about in terms of, community areas officials between that they could be associated with the police that created that community policing?
Yes, community area officials is another pillar of community policing. And that's where we assigned police officers to different districts within a community, right? And what we've been advising and been doing recently is that having stations to zone the policing district. Yeah? So you zone your policing district and you appoint a team of officers who is responsible for that district. So their role is to go into that district. They should know everything that happens in that district. Who are the churches, the schools, the business places, the community groups, and so on within that community. Who are the vulnerable people within that community? Who are the troublemakers within that community? And so they have that information. And once that information is had, the police can now target those groups in terms of how best they can walk along with them to better issues within the community.
All right.
Yeah.
What are some of the groupings, especially when it comes to young people that the community policing would associate with?
Right.
For example, in back in the day, we used to have the police boys club and all of these things associated within the various communities. Are those part of community policing projects that the police will associate with?
Yes, those clubs are part of the policing project. We have recently adopted a new name for the clubs, formerly known as the Police Boys Club. We now using the word police school clubs.
Police school clubs.
And one of the reasons for that is because we want to be gender neutral.
Okay.
Because those clubs now will involve both boys and girls.
Okay.
So to say the Police Boys Club is not an adequate description of the club.
Because, back in the day, more or less, is more associated with boys.
With boys.
Boys. Understandably so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now including girls along those clubs. These are clubs that is set up basically in the primary schools with students from about age of 8 to 15 thereabout, with the consent of the parents and with the blessings of the principal and teachers of the school. Mm-hmm. Those clubs are set up within those primary schools to help develop those young minds, and impact them in becoming better citizens, more responsible citizens. Yeah.
All right. Let's get into a wee bit of the overall concept of community policing, and of course it may have dated back a long time. What are some of the concepts of community policing?
Right. So, and you may hear me saying that over and over. The concept of community policing is basically, in simple terms, the police and the community working together to reduce crime, to reduce the fear of crime, and to make communities safer.
So it's as simple as that.
And it has been there for centuries. Yeah. Dating way back to 1859 with Sir Robert Peel, mm-hmm. where he's known as the father of modern policing. Some of the principles that he had advocated in 1859, still stands today. Still stands.
All right. Now, how important is community policing? If we get into a generalized question right now, how important is community policing working in Grenada? I would say.
Right. In Grenada, we have our struggles with the community policing in terms of having every station on the same level, and it's a work in progress, and we are actively and vigorously working towards that, especially within the first quarter of this year, where all of the stations on the island, which includes Carriacou, will have the main pillars: the sitting advisory body, the farm watch, the neighborhood watch, the business watch, the police schools club, the school liaison officer, the community area officials, the police youth club where applicable, and police health and wellness club. They are mandated where it's applicable to have that in place as part of the community policing strategy for 2024 and beyond.
All right.
So when I mentioned the police school club, I must say that the only station on the island is the Grand Roy Police Station.
Yes.
That now has a police youth club.
All right.
Where they work along with the youths in the area. Other stations may follow suit because the strategic pillars that is listed here is not limited to.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there's always a policy that governs, community police. Could you state some of that for us?
Right. So there are guidelines for every area of we spoke about in terms of the strategic pillars.
Yes.
There are guidelines that is developed and guide the process as to how you go about setting up each of those areas. Right now, we're in the process of finalizing a document, and we're going to put it together as a booklet. So it will be standardized throughout the force. So everybody will know exactly what has to be done to set up the citizen advisory body, the crime management team, the farm watch, the neighborhood watch, the business watch, police, school club, and so on. There'll be what you call a terms of reference.
Yeah.
That is almost finalized for those areas.
All right.
Yeah.
How important is community policing for the RGPF? How important it is?
It is very important. We have seen it work over the years. We have seen areas that have been prone to disorder and prone to crime. We would have implemented community policing strategies, and we have seen a reduction in crime in those areas, a reduction in disorder within those areas. So it's very important. The RGPF is a service-oriented organization. We are in the business of keeping people safe. The main motto over the years is to protect and to serve. And the RGPF cannot do it by themselves. Hence the reason, the importance of community policing, to build those relationships, build those partnerships, and work together to better communities throughout the trial and state of Grenada. When people are involved in the community, they take a sense of responsibility within the community. They sort of own the community. Lives will be better throughout for all.
There's always a concept of, residents within particular communities having that resistance to police for some reason or the other. Having that failure of wanting to talk and give out information to police. How does the RGPF plan on sort or fixing that in a layman's conversation way? How do they plan on fixing that if it's possible? If it's possible,
Yes, and this is true. You will find some communities where persons are not that friendly with law enforcement. Mainly because some of them have been dealt with by law enforcement. Mm-hmm. Some of them may have some bad experience. But within the community policing framework, we believe, as an organization, when we get out into the community and we engage them, we listen to them. It's not about we just talking to them.
Yeah.
We need them to talk back to us. Let us know how they feel. Let us know how they think about us, how our response to them, how that is being received.
Yeah, make the necessary adjustments.
And we believe that once we build that relationship, people are going to have confidence in the police. People are going to trust the police. And once that trust and confidence is there, obviously, we are going to get the information that way. People are going to now rely on the police. Yeah. And we have seen it over the years in recent times that a lot of the reports that we deal with on a day-to-day basis are what we call non-criminal reports. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons for that is because people are developing more confidence and more trust in the police. And they believe that the police can help them, and they trust the police to help them. So there are issues that are not basically or mainly law enforcement. They will come to us, and we are able to walk along with them to address those issues. Because if left unchecked, it could result in criminal conduct and disorderly behavior.
All right. And you say a swift implementation of the community police will be is going to be thrown out a lot within the first quarter of 2024. Is there any particular area that we're going to see a really serious effort being made in terms of community policing taking place?
Yes.
Is there any particular trouble area that you say, hey, I think that we need to go to that particular area because of the complaints that we've been hearing over for a period of time, and we think that community policing will help to solve those problems in those particular areas? And you said in the first quarter of 2024 we should see a serious implementation of that.
Yes. So and it's an ongoing process. And what we do on a weekly basis, we analyze our reports. In terms of crime mapping.
Yes.
So we know what are the areas within any policing district that is problematic by looking at the amount of reports that comes out from that particular area. With the concept of the community policing strategy, once we have that information, we now what you call target those areas in terms of community policing. We do neighborhood watch, we do walkthroughs and so on, engagements, public forums, whether it's a discussion, whether it's a health fair, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So once we realize those problem areas, we allow more policing efforts in those areas and less in because not every area requires the same level of police response.
Right.
There are some communities that you could probably visit them maybe once every 2 months.
I guess there are known hotspots
but there are other areas that you
Mhm.
need to visit on a weekly basis to ensure that order is maintained and people are safe within those communities.
All right. ASP Glen Charles with me this morning, folks. We're talking community policing. We due for a break. We will take that break. We're coming right back with more information for you. Stay with us here on the Classic Radio, GBN TV. It's To The Point. We're coming right back. Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. Good morning to those of you via our social media platforms. Also, whether it's a Facebook page, YouTube channel, good morning, and thank you for being with us this morning. We also have the option now where we will open the lines for those of you listeners and viewers of the day. If you do have a question or two as it relates to our conversation this morning, we're talking community policing. Probably you have an idea you may like to spill out to the SP Glen Charles and me this morning, and maybe an idea that could be mentioned by a listener or viewer this morning could of course help in terms of how community policing could go about from your perspective. Let's take our first caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Greetings, Mr. Telesford. How are you?
Doing pretty well, sir. How are you?
Nice weather, isn't it? Listen to your officer of the Royal Grenada Police Force. I wish to make this contribution. That is merely an observation. Pay attention. An observation. Remember that seeing doesn't necessarily mean that what is reflected before you is it. Sherlock Holmes, in his wisdom, fiction sensational, of course. Back then, told what you see is not all. You need to observe, and so I do observe, because my own is not because of the bulbs in front of my head, but based on my mind's eye. Let's get to the fact. I laud and applaud the police service, the Grenada Police Service, that will be the new name soon, on the efforts to enhance the relationship between the people, the population, and their organization. But my dear brother, take it from me, and take this back to your chief of police and the subalterns. There is something that is lacking, and that is a 5-letter word, TRUST, trust. It does not exist between the population and the police service. It does not exist. And if we care to put a slash alongside and add the word trustworthiness, people report matters to the police with suspects, etc. And we hear it all the time on the call-in program. The police goes back and tells the criminal, the alleged criminal, who snitched on them. That happens in this country. It's a common thing. So I urge you, my dear brother, in as much as I laud and applaud these new moves to bring about a greater, better, peaceful relationship between the population and the police, you have to set the foundation. Mr. Chief of Police, listen to me. You have to set the foundation to establish trustworthiness in your police service before anything else can happen, for what it's worth. Thank you very much, Mr. Telesford. Do have a nice day, will you?
Thank you, sir. Have a great day yourself. Any response to the caller, SP Charles?
Yes, well, I will say to the caller and to the other listeners out there, as an organization, I'm not saying that we are perfect, right? We have our strengths and we do have our weaknesses. But what I would urge persons out there, if at any point in time they have credible information that is the case of which the caller just spoke of, they can come to us, yeah? Come to us and let us know what is happening so that we can deal with those issues. Or bring it to the sitting advisory body within the policing community district, and they can address it with the police. Yeah.
All right. There's another question before we take another call. There's a question from someone via the WhatsApp saying, and they're saying, could the citizen advisory body make some people be seen as spies of the community? That's an interesting question there.
Very interesting question. No. The Sitting Advisory Body is not a spy group within the community. It's an advisory body to the police that will see things within the community that need to be addressed, and they will bring it to the attention of the police and walk along with the police in addressing those issues. So it's not a spy group, or they are not snitches, or they are not informants. They are not informants to the police.
Maybe they are volunteering.
Yeah, they are volunteering their services.
Also, yeah.
And the time to walk along with the police to make communities safer and to make people have a more peaceful and quiet life.
All right. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning. It's pleasing to see the sidewalk is free of vendors. But as pedestrians, we are being pushed into the road with vehicles parked on the sidewalk. What the police is doing about that, especially in the city?
All right, thank you, caller. Of course, we're talking community policing now. We have the question a little off our conversation this way in terms of the sidewalk and so on. We're not really talking about that specifically this morning, but I don't know if you want to respond to the caller in any way as it relates to it. But let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome. Caller, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Related to the gravel in the road, in the community, because the Monge area, all right? Would that be on the community policing?
Okay, let's leave the officer will answer. The ASP, the caller was asking.
So anything that affects the safety and the well-being of persons within any district, any village, any community within Grenada, it becomes part of a law enforcement issue, because we are in the business of keeping people safe. What we advise persons to do, if they observe there are things like, for instance, you mentioned the gravels in the road, bring it to the attention of the traffic department or any police station or even our police headquarters. Call 3-440-3999 and let us know that there is a gravel spill in a particular area. So it could be addressed. Spillage is a offense on the Road Traffic Act, and if persons if they find out who are the persons responsible for spillage and they have not addressed it, they can be dealt with under the Road Traffic Act by the traffic department.
All right. There's a question from someone via the Facebook page. They asked on the question: would it be that the police officer who starts the community policing in a particular district will remain in the same district? They asked that question.
Right. Very good question. As the community policing coordinator, I've had that question been thrown at me, both from police officers and also from the public. What we're actually trying to do now and have in place is a continuum, where we are documenting everything that has to happen. Because it is impossible within the RGPF and the construct of the RGPF to have one person remain in a particular position forever. You have persons who would resign, persons who would retire, persons who will become sick, person who will be promoted, and has to move to another area for their development and for the benefit of the organization. So you will find within the organization persons are being moved from one area to the next area. But what we're trying to ensure is that there is documentation, there is succession, that if I am being transferred from a particular area, there is document, there is a file that is being prepared. There's a file that can be handed over to the incoming person so they can build on what is there rather than go and have to start all over again.
Okay. 435-2041, that's the number. If you do have a question or two as it relates to community policing, that's the level of our conversation this morning. Feel free to give us a call. We do have a caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen. Police community in the days gone by and to present time. Now, the police had more links in the days gone by before 79 with the local people. Actually, the fast station, they used to have a police, they used to have a canteen, they used to go, the public will go inside and drink and thing, play games with them, draft, domino, this, that, and thing. I think they used to dance and all in the fast station. Police dances will be in the fast station. But when the revolution took over, they had some problem with a gentleman who came in a lantern with a table tennis racket. And when the minister in the period had a problem. And from that, the ban everybody from coming and they called on this canteen and everything, so they never saw a party again after that. Now, there is a thing, I understand they have a funds in the police force in the days gone by for members to go and study. But certain rank and file in the police force go and study with the funds in any case, a few of them. And when they come out, they squash it, the funds. So if you want to study, you want to take your own money and study. But we see there was a funds in the past in the police force for members. So, I mean, I can find it's very strange when people in authority have a lot of power to go do what they want to do to the nation.
I'm trying to get the direction of what you're trying to speak about, because I'm not understanding what the direction that you're going at. Are you talking in relation to community policing?
Policing is everything, you know. Security and all kind of thing. I mean, talking to
all right, caller. Thank you so much. And it's to the point here on Classic Radio 105.5 and GBN TV. If you do have a question or two as relates to community policing this morning, feel free to give us a call, and I'm certainly sure ASP Charles will respond to you. Let's go back to the phone line. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Yeah, good morning, sir. How you doing?
Not too bad at all. Go ahead with your contribution, please.
My problem with community policing is that if the officers are not trained properly, and they go out on the block and interact with them guys on the block, what normally happens is that them guys on the block involved in crime. So they would like to know what the police know. If the police are not trained properly, it might give out too much information that what Mr. Rollo is really talking about. Policemen go out there and sometimes they talk too much because they're not trained properly. So they would say, the guys on the block would trick them into a conversation, and lo and behold, they might spill the beans. So it's very important that the officers are trained properly before they go out and do what you call community policing. Because remember, them guys out here, they're out here to get trouble. You know, so you got to be very careful about that. Have a nice day, bro.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your content. Any response to the caller?
Well, I always say that in anybody there's always a level of good and a level of bad. And going forward, what you're going to see the police in the communities more and more, even on the blocks. Anywhere there's a gathering of persons, you're going to see the police engaging, having conversations, and listening. Yeah? And that's what we want to do. We want to listen to people. We want to hear from them how best we can walk along with them. We also want to hear from them areas that they think that we are not doing so well, you know, so that we can improve our services to them. The whole aspect of the community policing is a partnership, yeah? Building that relationship, building that collaboration. And once we have that partnership, that relationship, that collaboration, the trust that our previous callers speak about, it's going to be there. People will now trust the police because they now see the police as part of the society. Yeah, too many times people see the police a distance away, and that shouldn't be. The police and the community are supposed to work together, side by side, for the betterment of all.
All right. We do have another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning. This is concerning traffic. I would like to know if the police is aware. Is there a stop at the top of Market Hill coming down Lucas Street?
Caller, just one sec. We're not really talking traffic this morning. We're talking community policing.
That's part of community walk because the buses stop right at Market Hill. They collide. They come together there, and passengers are getting off. And is there a stop sign at the top of that Market Hill space there?
Okay, cool. Let's see if the ESP will respond to that in terms of stop. Of course, we're not talking traffic this morning, more or less.
I know, but
I tried to tell the caller.
From my local knowledge, I think there's a bus stop somewhere at the top of Market Hill where buses are allowed to drop off students going to school and people going to work. So I know there's a bus stop somewhere to the top of the hill there.
All right, let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, officer. How do you see community police helping areas like that society has accepted as Saigon and Trench Town and the ghetto? How do you see community police helping these areas? Because the broader picture, even politicians refer to these places, these areas, by those names, and we know the connotation that comes with those names.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
Yes, so we have seen that quite a lot nowadays, that persons are adopting different names to various communities and so on. There are some names that people tend to gravitate with. I don't know I'm not a psychologist, but what I have been observing is that based on the name that is given to a particular place or a particular establishment, people tend to gravitate towards that name. For instance, if you have a nice name as Princess Royal Cafe, you find much people wouldn't go there. But if you have some name as the Devil's Pub, you're surprised to see the amount of people that will go to that pub. And so people tend to gravitate to names and so on. However, society needs to, the people within the communities need to take a hold of the communities and see what's the best for them. And rather than having those names, assigned to the communities and so on, they could develop among themselves a discussion and the renaming or the rebranding of the communities and the societies.
All right, let me do have another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Yeah, good morning. Officer, what is happening in communities now? I noticed that I know police used to walk around in the community and they have an exercise and they used to take the report from the people that complain. I notice now that regardless, the police is giving people whenever is holiday and so on pass to have functions in the community without even passing until the community members will look something going on in your country, in your community. What you find, and look around and see where the area is where given the pass. Things going on from 6 to 6 in the morning, from 6 to 6 in the evening to morning, and the elder people in the community, people in the community that is not had to put up with it. So what you thinking about it? I believe the police Stanislaus and them when they used to be community police and he was in charge of the station, he would pass through and see where the person have the place where they want to use for this function. But now everybody just go pass and say, I have a pass. I have a pass and they give me a pass to have it. So what do you think about that? That is community policing.
All right, thank you. Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Any response to the caller, SP?
From my knowledge, when persons want to have an activity within the community that are going to involve the selling of alcohol and the playing of amplified music, they are required to write for permission. And I know that we have what they call a vetting process, where persons within the community, police officers, is going to go and identify the location and see whether or not it is a suitable location for hosting of the activities. We also have to understand that there needs to be a balance. Yeah, people need to have an avenue to socialize. Yeah, for their own mental health. Yeah, and development of their personal development, to have that kind of social where they could actually relax and de-stress themselves. But there must be a balance, and it shouldn't be at the expense of others, right?
All right.
And even when those permissions are being granted, there are guidelines in terms of the level of the music and also the time in which they operate. And so sometimes if they go beyond the time, we ask persons to call in, even if somebody has a permission and the noise or so is affecting persons, they need to call in so that the police could address it and ask the people to lower the noise and so on, because there has to be a balance, yeah? Right. It shouldn't be at the expense of one person.
Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. GT, and morning to the officer, and morning to the listeners and the viewers. Anything that could help to bring some kind of stability to this country, I'm very much in support of it. And I'm willing to, do all my best to ensure that it is expanded. Now, it's interesting that the police establishment came around to deal with community policing. Around 1985, I sat and passed the police exam for the pure, simple reason that I thought I could bring something to the police, but I was not allowed to get into the police force simply because I had a disability. So, in fact, I'm still waiting on them to call me. They couldn't deal with it anyway, but it's good. I'm always glad when I see vision that I've had taken up by others. So, but my substantive point is, we talk about community, but I wonder if you really believe there's communities, that people living in areas. Most people have little communication or good communication with their neighbors. And I think we need to encourage that, and also the need for people to respect each other. On a daily basis, I hear interaction, or I observe interaction with people, and only God that's even us, from really mayhem and so on, because there are a lot of angry people around. They can't get along because they want to have their way, and even if it means poisoning people. Like, for instance, I have a neighbor who have been poisoning me for years, using insecticides, weapon of mass destruction. And I'm told that other people have suffered, including sometime 2 years ago, somebody told me her cousin died from a similar situation. These things are cancerous. And when you're spraying people using guamazone, terrorizing other folks, we need to find a way that we could respect one another and understand that we are not the only people in the world, and we're not the center of the world. We are part of the center of the world. So we have to cooperate. And if the police could really find a way to encourage that. I, as somebody who have a background in conflict resolution, I'm willing to help as much as possible. I've said it in the past, I'm saying it again. I'm willing to help in assisting people in understanding that you could deal with conflict, you could avoid conflict, as a matter of fact, by being respectful and all of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Any response to the caller, LSP?
Well, yes. Any issues within a community, and that's one of the reasons for setting up neighborhood watch and so on. Not just to reduce crime, property crimes and so on, but even to build better relationships with neighbors. Within a community, neighbors should know what goes on with other neighbors. If a neighbor is going to town, the other neighbor should know to at least throw an eyes on the property and so on, and ensure that happens. The issue of conflict resolution is very important. A lot of people within communities have issues that they just doesn't know how to solve it and so on. And so most of the times we have those officers that will go out in the communities and will do lectures and discussions on conflict resolution, stress management, and a whole lot of stuff. And even within the schools, you have officers that goes out within the schools and do those types of lecture, because we believe that once that conversation is had and people understand the consequences of their action and they have an alternative rather than resort to violence, they will develop themselves and be better citizens. And it will be better for the entire community, that people could live harmoniously with one another. They don't have to agree with one another, but they could live harmoniously with one another.
All right. Let's take our final caller this morning, and we get some closing comments. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Morning, and I applaud the program this morning with the RGPF. I'll be very brief. I saw a news clip from GBN concerning, I think that was last year, concerning licensing upgrades. I didn't get a full clip, just a sneak peek. But I don't know if you all could elaborate on it.
All right, caller, our program this morning is not relating to licensing or anything of that nature this morning. We're talking community policing, and of course that information could be passed on to you as the morning progresses. All right, thank you so much for your contributing this morning. ASP Glen Charles, once again, any closing comments before we take a wrap this morning?
Yes, I want to let everybody know that community policing is the way forward. It's the mandate of the RGPF to ensure that all stations have the community policing program up and running, ensure that it is effective, ensure that it is sustained, and so on. Because we believe that when we build that relationship with the public, trust is going to develop, confidence is going to develop, and so we'll be in a better position to solve issues that affect persons within the community. We're also appealing to persons within policing districts. You can come forward and offer your services on the various groups within our community. So if you live in an area and there's a police station, and you can go to the station and say, officer, I want to serve, I want to walk along with the police, I'm offering my services and so on. And they will direct you as to which of, if you're a farmer, we're asking farmers to come out and be part of the different farm watch in the various districts, And we're asking persons to group themselves into groups in the neighborhood to look out for one another, to ensure that group themselves crime is reduced. There is a peace and harmony within the neighbors. If, for instance, there's an issue that you want to address, you can invite the police to come out and have that discussion with you. You can also come into the police and have that discussion. Because this is the way forward. You're going to see the police officers throughout the country, in every village and every neighborhood, talking and meeting with people to find out, build that relationship and let them know that the police is part of them. One of the things idea that we have now that is on the table is to develop those signs from the RGPF that says we care, and have a picture that we're going to speak to what we're talking about. So you might see a picture, a billboard up with a police officer crossing a little child to school, or crossing an elderly person in the road, or sit down chatting with some farmers, or maybe chatting with some fisher folks, or even on the block with the youths. Police officer, and just we care, and have the picture speaks for itself. Very soon, this is an idea that we have that we want to roll out in terms of our community policing strategy, because we believe everybody has a part to play, and we're asking persons to come forward, offer your services on the various groups and schemes that we're going to have, the Citizen Advisory Board, the Farm Watch, and so on. Come out and give your support as we work together to keep Grenada safe for all.
All right. ASP Charles, I want to thank you so much for the information shared this morning. I certainly know the listeners and viewers did learn a whole lot, and I certainly will, as the community policing aspects rolls out through in the next, as you said, the first quarter of this year, and as it goes through for the rest of the year and beyond, I certainly hope we get a different, of course, feeling in terms of the vibe that flows between the police and the community. Thank you once again, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Thanks for having me.
Hey, folks, that's what we take a wrap for today's program. Thanks to all who contributed some way or the other. Thank you so much for being part of To The Point for today. Join us again for another edition tomorrow once your mighty permits. Have yourself a good one, folks. That's what we say. Goodbye.